the Power of One. Today I'm going to be speaking with Mr. Paul, who's going to share his story with us in hopes of helping young African American men. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Hello, thanks for having me. How are you?
Good. So, Paul, let's talk about your childhood, where you grew up, your teenage years, and where you went to high school.
Mm. So, I grew up on Bonsall Street, right off of Lehigh Avenue, in between Lehigh and Somerset, 2700. I have one brother and two sisters. I'm the youngest. I was raised by a single parent mom who worked for the school district. I had a good life. I was a good childhood, I should say. Uh, I had what I needed. I think for the most part, our community was a helpful community, a community of single parent mothers that raised the community, not just their households. Um, I went to T.M. Pierce Elementary from 1 to 6, and I went to Fitzsimon Junior High at junior high school. I was a good athlete. I played baseball. That was actually my first love. Um, I played basketball. I ran track. Uh, Always an avid reader. Um, I was a typical young kid, enjoying life and playing on the block with my friends, that sort of thing. I think by the time I reached high school, I was kind of, I don't know, I was intrigued by the culture. So
What
much so
culture?
that the culture of crime,
Okay.
culture of, I guess, being in the streets, being mischievous. Um, I think as I got older, and when I say as I got older, when I got into my like 16, 17, um, a lot of things changed for me. My perspective changed. I began to, I guess, think that I could do a lot of things on my own in my way, opposed to the right way and the way things were supposed to be done. And that's without guidance. Um, there was no positive male role models in my circle. I'm not saying that they weren't there or they weren't available. I just didn't know how to actually navigate in that circle. I had basketball coaches and things of that nature, but I think I didn't gravitate to the practitioners that cared about young men. I think I was
Okay.
kind of entrenched, so to speak, into the street life.
Now, you spoke about how amazing mom was. Now, with you being in the street life, was mom like in the forefront of your mind, or you was just, I like this love right here in the street, so this is what I'm gonna gravitate to.
I think I gravitated to it more so than I did my family and my
Okay.
household and the people that loved and cared about me. I think I kind of pushed them away because I was so much so entrenched in the streets. And we do it in ignorance, because
Mm.
we young, we think we have it figured out, but we really don't because we don't have any experience. Um, and that leads to uh, uh, I don't know, a lot of discourse, a lot of discourse. Um,
Okay.
you become, I don't know, you become somewhat just numb to that culture and that lifestyle,
Mm.
having things that you didn't earn and you had them right away. So at 17, 18, you had a brand new car.
Mm.
things that you again you didn't work for, you didn't earn, but you have them. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why work? Uh, why think about working? Um, why does work matter? And I'm already there. And those were the thought processes that not just myself, but a lot of young guys had. You
Mm-hmm.
know, being in a just being a part of the culture, thinking you made it, you're there, you're out of it, but you really don't. You don't really understand that when you're 16 and 17.
Okay. So at some point in the later teen years of your life, something happened that totally changed your life, correct?
Absolutely.
And please tell the
Um,
viewers what that was.
uh, I was I was on a corner, and a friend of mine called me, and
How
he
old
asked
were
me to
you?
come. I was 19.
Okay.
He called me, he asked me to come get him. He was under duress. Uh, I gave my car to a friend of mine, and I asked him to go get him, go pick him up for me.
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of them going to pick our other friends up, a young man was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my car was how I was identified, not on the scene identified, but I was identified through my car, and I was charged with first-degree murder. Um, because I didn't uh, say who drove the car, who was there, who I gave my car keys to, that sort of thing. I kind of feel like I was put in that position because of that. And I ended up in prison. I ended up fighting for my life that day. And from that day for 3.5 decades, I fought for my life from that standpoint. From those instances, from that situation, it was in the beginning. I think it was something that I kind of didn't think was going to actually be something that cost me 3.5 decades of my life. I think in the
36
beginning,
years.
yes, I think in the beginning I thought that it would probably come to the conclusion where they figured out that I really wasn't there, and I did give somebody my car, and they would kind of figure things out on their own, but it didn't turn out that way, and the person ended up passing away, so that never got resolved. And again, I stayed inside fighting for my life.
Let me ask you a question. So,
Hmm.
and no judgment, we're having a conversation. And I really think this will help other young African American men and young African American females. There is a no snitch code, probably worldwide. I don't know. Talk to me about that. How serious is that on both sides, Paul? So you spent 36 years in prison because you would not say who had your car. And then the person who actually committed the murder did not come to your defense to say, okay, I don't want my brother to spend time in prison for my actions. So break that down for me and break that down for the viewers. Like how were you okay carrying that weight? Were you okay doing 36 years in prison for your brother for something that you didn't do?
I don't want to say that I was okay with it, because I wasn't. And I'm not. That's not a culture thing. That's a fact. Um, I think a lot of times when, and this for young men, when we put ourselves in situations now, today, in today's time, you hear a lot of young guys say, I stand on business or 10 toes down. It's always a phrase that comes with, them trying to actually um, quantify what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it. I think for me back then, it was the same. I think it was a culture thing. Um, and again, we young, we're ignorant, um, we don't have purpose, we don't know what our intentions are. There's a lot of things that come with being a part of the culture and not really understanding what the culture is or who you are as an individual. So it's
Mm,
a lot of dynamics that come with being a part of the culture and really not understanding who you are and what um, how you should value yourself in your life, in your family, and it's just a lot that comes with it. It's not as simple as should you follow the code.
okay.
A lot of us thinks that I'm not being judgmental, but a lot of times people don't understand or don't take into consideration um, the part that the individual play with regards to ignorance. That's a major aspect of what a lot of young men deal with today. It's not that they don't have the capability to understand who they are and what their value is. It's just that they don't know how to get there. Their uncles have or are a part of the culture. So it's systemic in some way that you stand on business. So it's not
Mm,
always, it didn't come from me. Like I said,
right.
my greatest male figure was my stepfather, uh, uh, Willie. That was my greatest inspiration as a man. It differs for everybody. We're taught not to cry.
Mm,
It's just different for young black men. Our rites of passage change. It seems like every decade.
mm,
Think about how young men are being viewed and perceived today, and how they're being taught. Um, they're 13 now. These young men, that's young kids that's in the street now, that's killing people. They weren't 13 when I was a young teen.
right.
Oh, the
Because there was
generations,
times were different. So
absolutely.
when the OGs, the young boys respected them, and they didn't do anything around the young people. If they were going to do something, they would tell them, you go ahead. But now it doesn't seem like there's any respect. The young generation today does not have respect for the old heads. I'm gonna say that.
Right.
How was
Well,
it for you, Paul, going through the court system at 19? Or did you
um,
did you go through the whole court process? Did you go through a trial? Did you plead?
yes, I actually went through a trial. Um, it's quite ironic that you even mentioned going through a trial. Um, I had a lead detective on my case. His name was Manuel Santiago. He created this case and put me in play. That's how I got the case. Nobody told him um, anything in reference to me outside of uh, that being my vehicle. So the case that I end up with was a case that was put together from him or through him and his team of detectives, or however you want to, kind of build that team of police officers or district attorney office, however you want to, they actually, it has come out that my conviction was tainted to the
Mm,
fact that I was actually, that's actually how I got out.
okay.
Over the years, and the question was, did I go through a trial? Yes, I went through a trial. During my trial, the witnesses that came in, they said that either it wasn't me or they don't remember or I'm not sure. So that's how my witnesses looked going to trial. and these are eyewitnesses. I know him. I went to school with him. I don't remember him. I don't think that's him. Well, if you know me and you went to school with me, then you would know if it's me. So that was one witness. Another witness don't know me, never grew up with me. He points me out. Yeah, that's him. I know him. Come to find out, he was threatened by this police detective and uh, coerced into doing what he did. Again,
Mm.
this is how I got out because this was discovered. Um, while at trial, because of those witnesses saying the things that they did, they didn't know, they wasn't sure. Um, I was out on bail for this case, and I was sent to Montgomery County because I had a probation period in Montgomery County. During my intake going into Montgomery County, uh, there was a white prisoner that was an informant um, for the district attorney office in that holding cell that I was in. Uh, I don't know him. I never met him. He's a Caucasian gentleman. He was in his 30s. Again, I was 19. He ended up at my trial on the stand with a story about how he and I shared a cell, and I told him I killed somebody.
And that was not true.
Not at all. And again, this is how I got out because all this information was brought to light. Um, After that period of going through my appeals and having multiple attorneys represent me, I think I got to a point where I knew uh, what I needed to put forth to the courts, and that was about uh, the gentleman that came in. I knew that I needed to put his testimony and how they utilized him to the courts. But what I didn't have was the information that I needed in order to do that. So what I did was I just pounded and pounded and pounded and pounded the Montgomery County court system until they gave me transcripts from his sentencing hearings in other people cases. So in other words, and I'm just using names as hypotheticals, if Kevin Smith was on trial in Montgomery County and David Eisner popped up at his trial, then I had to look up Kevin Smith's appeals in order to see that David Eisner popped up at his trial. So that's how I found out that he was in multiple trials. I
Wow.
researched I researched and I found his name and I put in witness and it pops up in the system how many times he was a witness on a case that specific name. So you just have to keep running those things and running those things until you get a hit. And I end up getting a few hits. And I utilize that information. But putting that information to the forefront, I ended up in front of a judge with my appeal. And she frowned upon it
Mm.
numerous times. So much so till we scheduled a court date and she didn't even show up. So her superior judge got wind of that her not being in the courtroom for a hearing where two attorneys were there, which was the district attorney and my attorney, to
Mhm.
plead a case out, and her not showing up was just unethical. They
Right.
ended up removing her from the PCRA court system and put her in, I think, civil court. That was the catalyst for my case to be seen by the
Mm.
public. When the public seen my case and read it, I think that was a little bit more, it held a little more weight. Not enough to free me. What actually catapulted me over was there's a guy by the name of Anthony Wright who was actually innocent of a murder of an elderly woman up in Logan. And the cops that were on, the detectives that were on his case actually were a part of that same unit. and they were actually running a big article on him. And in that article, there was a gentleman that was a witness in my case. And he explained how the corrupt detectives had asked him to come in and make a statement on a guy that he didn't know. And
Mm,
that guy was me. So
mm.
that was like what got me over the top and what has me where I am today, which is
Wow.
free. So
Now, tell me something, Paul. When you were sentenced to that 36 years in prison, or when you were sentenced to prison time, what was going through your mind? And when you were serving all of those years, how did you stay positive? And did you just have your mindset on, I am going to show proof and I'm going to prove my innocence?
um my incarceration was it was painful. It's
Mm,
painful now. It's actually painful to actually talk about it and not be emotional. I'm actually trying to really fight through this. Um, it caused a lot of damage, a lot of emotional damage. I knew I was getting out.
mm,
I never, ever said I wasn't coming home. Never. I think for the most part, I wanted to stay balanced. And what I
mm.
mean by that is I never ate with a spoon. Um, I wanted to be as normal as I possibly could through and through. I never wanted to be in dehumanizing situations. I always made sure that I read.
Paul, I don't think things just happen. And I remember you calling me the first time because your mom unfortunately went through a very unfortunate situation. And then talking to you, and it touched my heart because not everybody cares for their parents the way they should. But the way that you were advocating for your mom touched my heart. And you and I just started talking like we knew each other for years. So I knew you were a good brother, again, taking care of mom. So I just want to commend you on sharing your story. I want to commend you because now you're working with young men and trying to divert them from going down the wrong path. So I thank you for that. I thank you for being a real brother and being vulnerable. That makes you a huge, huge man, nothing less of a man. So I thank you. I can tell that you come from a strong family and that your family loves you. You will make a difference to someone who's going to watch this show and someone who needs to get their life back. So I thank you so much for sharing your story. I look forward to working with you, and we are going to help those who are going down the wrong path. And for the viewers, Paul is boots on the ground. And what Paul is doing is so much more important than a therapist can do that has never walked in the shoes of some young African American men who are going down the wrong path. Peer to peer support is so important. Paul, I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and I look
You know,
forward to working with you.
we look forward to working with you guys as well. And again, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Please understand there is no judgment. Please understand that it's all about love. We have to ask the question why people make the decisions that they do, again, with no judgment. So we have to love on our young African American men, and people like Paul are going to make a huge difference in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. Thank you so much for joining me today. Peace and love.